So for the start of this lesson, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, like you're buying something. Now, when you're working with salespeople as a buyer, when do you get a sense that this person doesn't know what they're talking about? When do you get a sense that this is potentially going to be a bad decision for you to work with this company? I get to see so much communication from a wide variety of different people. And I want to share with you perhaps what's the 3 most common, I want to say mistakes, but ultimately areas where we can optimize our communication. Now, mindset wise, I think this is the key here, is that we want to change the way we think first so that our behavior changes. So it's all fine and well like looking at the tactics of communication, deleting words, removing words. But like I said, one of the hardest places to do that is in a moment, in a sales call or in a sales appointment. We want to be able to think differently. And if I was to really summarize the type of thinking that I see that leads to diminishing language, what we're actually seeing oftentimes is an apology. Like we're apologizing for being there. So what's a good example of that? This will just take a minute. I know you're busy. Can we get 15 minutes in today? Just a quick message. All of this language here is like we're interrupting, like we're not valuable. That is not how we want to communicate. We want to communicate with authority and credibility. We can't communicate in a way that's an apology. So what we want to think about is the buyer cannot get what they want without me. I am a critical part in this process to help the buyer make the best decision for them, to make sure they can solve the problem, take advantages of the opportunities or the benefits that come from buying from us, etc., etc. They cannot buy this thing without me. I am here to set the conditions for success, help them make great decisions, and ultimately lead them to a better life, to that transformation that everybody's looking for. So we want to change our mindset, the way that we think. We're not going to apologize for who we are or what we do or how we turn up in the world, and we're going to lead with authority and credibility and confidence in what we do. Now, just a change in thinking can change our behavior, can change the words that we use, the way that we speak, and the way that we communicate. Now, one of the ways that we do this, like I said, there's 3 things that I wanted to cover with you today. The first one and the most common one is kind of a blend. It's a blend of what I would call poor communication or weak communication, and specifically they ask, you answer. And it's a classic. I see it almost every time I start working with salespeople, and it's the let me know if you have any more questions. Now, the reason this is a blend is because with the they ask you answer mindset on, we should really be getting ahead of the questions, because that's what the ask you answer is all about. So if we're starting to write or say, let me know if you've got any questions, what we should be thinking is, well, what questions should they have, or what questions will they have, and how do I get ahead of those questions so they're set up for the next stage in the buying process, right? So that's from a they ask you answer perspective. But from an effective communication perspective, when we say let me know if you've got any questions, what we're really doing is we're sort of throwing the ball over to them and they get to hold on to it. So we start to lose control of the conversation. So on alternatives, this is what we want to look for, is alternatives to let me know if you've got any questions. And the gold standard is to delete it and replace it with next steps. So the next steps look like, or here's what you should be thinking about. Here are the questions you should be considering. And the next step is to do X, so that we're really setting them up for the next stage in the buying process, right? Let me know if you've got any questions. Let's get rid of that completely. So every time you're going to write it, you're going to delete it, you're going to replace it with something else that moves them forward. All right. Number 2 is thank you for reaching out. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for doing business with us. Something like that, right? As a thank you. There's no doubt that I get some pushback from salespeople. I want to say thank you. I want to be nice. Yeah, but can you be high caring without being needy and desperate, right? To be completely frank about it. So oftentimes what I find is, with these examples, is you can literally take it out. People who are busy and are really trying to find a solution for something is to just jump straight into it. Just go straight into it. It's like, hey Chris, so what's going to happen next is, it's like just straight into it and help them move through it. Try and eradicate what we call the fluff. Another good example, as I see oftentimes, is thanks for your time today, right at the top end of a call. And it's like what you're doing there is you're saying that their time is more valuable than your time, but they can't do what they need to do without you. So whose time is more valuable? Who is in control? We want to set that tone from the start. So one of the ways I see this is usually in follow-up videos from sales appointments. Thanks very much for your time today. It was a really great call, right? Just take it out completely. Great session today. We've got everything that we needed to help us move forward. 3 next steps. We're just getting straight into it, right? Let's save the thank yous and the congratulations and all that kind of stuff. Let's save that to when it really matters and get away from this neediness, this desperateness, this idea that their time's more valuable than us, because ultimately they can't do what they need to do without us. And the other one is a sort of as an actual apology. I actually see this so more often than I'd like to. I even saw it just today, an email from someone that said, sorry for the delay. At that point, you're really on the back foot. You know, it just looks weak. So how can we get away from apologizing? Well, the first thing is don't make any mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. But instead, just like move things forward as fast as you possibly can. The best way to apologize is to get things moving. A good example of this is a sales meeting I was in, which was sorry for the delay, had an appointment that ran over, blah, 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 right? And instead it looks something like, okay, now that we're all here, let's get started. Best apology you can make is to move forward faster, get there quicker. So we've got to watch out for these things. So let's do a quick summary. There's lots of these things that we do, right? But the 3 that I see the most are, let me know if you've got any questions, emails, videos, sales appointments. Let's eradicate that and change it so that we're thinking ahead. It's quite, in fact, it's lazy, right? Let me know if you have any questions. We need to be thinking 1, 2, 3 steps ahead of the buyer. Some sort of thank you and some sort of apology. I want to get better at doing these things so that we can do it in a way that doesn't diminish our authority and maintains our control in the conversation, and it doesn't diminish the buyer's the way that the buyer perceives us as a credible person to help them through this process that they're going through. So self-awareness, okay, of your own communication, self-awareness and being aware of other people's communication, especially when you're a buyer. And you can say, well, how would I do this differently or better next time? So let's look out for these 3 majors. Let's get better at changing the way that we communicate. All right, so let's get to work.